There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Man, Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am, as always, your host, Nick, and we are here to talk about Rod Serling's famous, iconic TV show that can probably never be, talked about ever again in such perfect whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyways, you can reach me. You can reach our channel on my YouTube channel, as well as we're on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. We're probably on Amazon somewhere, I think. I don't know. I still haven't heard back from them, but we're back to talk another episode of the Twilight Zone. And here I got two people to talk to about the Twilight Zone with me, my two regular guest hosts or whatever you want to call them, the host with the most.
Are you calling us hoes?
Yeah, host
with the most is made.
Yeah. But our first host.
Yeah.
But our
You'll
first
always
host,
be my hose.
Gee. Not like that package I sent to you guys. You can definitely be my sea fags.
Oh my god.
No, the first person I got to introduce, as always, is our 2D host who will slap any person who makes fun of her Uranus, and that's Trip from Trivial Theater. What's going on?
So I'll slap anyone that makes fun of your anus or my own anus. I'm so
Who makes
confused.
fun of her?
Your
Yours
anus?
Or my anus. Any
Yeah.
anus.
Any
Whoever
anus?
makes fun of a Uranus, you get a slap. We'll just
Okay.
say, how's that sound?
My arms
But
are
how
stuck
you-
to my side. I'm not sure how that works.
You do head slap.
Headbutt him.
Yeah,
You do the flowing locks.
sure. Sounds like a
Um,
plan.
So if you're wondering, this is a week after the Oscars when Will Smith did slap Chris Rock, which was amazing and weird and scary and kind of funny. So yeah. So how you doing,
I just
Trip?
watched it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was definitely a thing to behold. I think we witnessed history, and hopefully we will have many more moments like that down the road.
Exactly.
I think
Maybe
somebody
I'll-
won
maybe-
Best Picture too or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There was an award show of some sort, but grand scheme.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But the other person you hear is, of course, a man who is our little Starlink of the podcast, and that is host Jacob of Jacob
Aw.
Anders Reviews. How you doing, Jacob? You doing good?
I'm doing good. I am not quite the little Starlink as of yet, or the big
Almost.
Starlink.
Next
but I will
episode.
be soon. Hopefully by then I'll have my star linked in here and all that. So you won't have to not show my full screen because I'm like a frozen image because my internet's so crap. But yeah,
Well,
good.
Your semi-frozen image is better than my full image any day of the week. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, you hush your mouth, Jeff. You hear that bullshit they're talking?
What?
Hey, don't be talking for Jeff. You don't represent his views.
I mean, he doesn't have anything sticking out of his eye anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming back soon. It's coming soon. Once I get my internet, so I can get those images back. We'll get something back in that eye, Jeff. I know you love it.
Yes, but
Did you just try to fist the eyeball?
Yeah.
That was kind of weird.
I don't try and fist anything. I do not try. There is no try. There's only do. You
Fair.
double fist.
I mean, it is a big eye. It's a star. It's a Starro level pupil.
Quite the hole.
Yes. And he holds a goal.
There you go. Oh, the fire cup's back.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Triv, sorry. Your
That's okay.
cup. I still have it. It's just dirty.
No, that's
It's
all right.
being washed at the moment.
That's okay.
Man,
Hurry.
that sounds like
Mad
it's clean to
Dash
me.
had
If
the
it's
flower
dirty.
cup had to make a
No, that's a good cup.
yeah.
But as we begin, really, these are the two cosmic sin awards of my heart, the Razzies.
You're calling us both Bruce Willis? I'm not
Calling
sure how.
you the Razzies of our heart of the podcast.
Are we redeemed Razzies or are we just Razzies? Because that could be taken in a bunch of different ways.
I mean, we're like the greatest podcast ever, so we
Well,
are
yeah,
like the
no shit,
Redeemer
Sherlock.
Award.
And to us, Nick, you will be the Amy Schumer of our hearts.
Oh, yeah.
always.
Especially
But
dressed as
yeah,
especially dressed as Super or Spider-Man.
exactly.
Somebody's gonna watch
Spandex-
this like 6 months from now. They
Like-
never watched the Oscars. They're like, "What in the fuck are these people talking about?"
Put it this way, your spandex
Thank you
hits
for
us in
watching
all
this
the
6
right
months later.
places. Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
Yes.
Anyways, so yes, we're talking about the Twilight Zone, a series that was definitely, I think, nominated for Emmys, was definitely not nominated for Razzies. And this week we're talking an episode that I don't know how I feel about, because it has some very interesting stuff in it as Triv, and apparently Jacob doesn't realize. It's very weird. It's season 1, episode 29, which is called Nightmare as a Child, directed by Alvin Ganzer, written by Rod Serling. Jerry Goldsmith did the music. Production code 173-3635, second to last episode recorded of the season, and premiered April 29th, 1960. Stars Janice Rule as Helen Foley, Terry Burnham as Marky, and Shepperd Strudwick as Peter Selden.
I will say, like last week we had this super funny, cheeky episode, and this week we have a total downer of an episode.
It's something. This episode is a lot to it's interesting. It's a lot to take in. It's an episode that deals with some abuse, to be fairly honest. It really does. But I have to ask, this is an episode I don't remember. I did ask someone about this episode. I was talking to a friend today, and I was asking him, have you remember, because it's a big Twilight Zone episode that'll be on in a couple of weeks. And I was asking them about this episode, and they were like, yeah, I remember that. And then they spoiled it for me. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And I got to ask you guys, even if you had don't remember this episode at all, which I know, Jacob, you haven't, did you guys have any idea where this episode was even going to start or go? Or did you guys have any contemplation of what this episode was going to be? This is a really fucked up episode, to be fairly honest.
The parts of it I did, like when the little girl showed up, I kind of had it in my head what she was.
Yeah.
Where the episode itself went, I didn't really so much. But
as the episode went on, I kind of did. But like Triv said, with the thing with the little girl, I was like, after just a few minutes. At first, I didn't. I just thought it was like some Village of the Damn shit. But no, as it went on, I was like, yeah, I know what's up with you. And then around the time that we'll get to, the guy left, I was like, yeah, I think, yeah, I think I get that. And then it kind of just all fell into place.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel. I really don't. We're going to have to talk through this, but
I'm curious to hear about this situation.
Oh, no, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
That you were talking about.
Yeah, I promise you we will get to that. Even if I forget, you'll remind me, and I will definitely get to it. So this episode opens up. Helen Foley walks into the building, sees a little girl on the steps, and immediately invites her in for her hot cocoa. I don't know how you feel about adults with kids, but I'm assuming, Jacob, that some random adult that you didn't know welcomed your kid into an apartment and offered free drinks. How you feel about that? But it's really weird. I know, I know the 60s and stuff is weird, but
she just invited her in, like, hey, there's a kid, come on in. And she was like, okay, that just seemed odd to me, but okay. Sure.
I mean, you could take it from the perspective of she felt camaraderie with the kid, like it was something that no other kid she would have invited in, but this particular kid, she was like, hey kid, come join me.
Well, later on,
based on where the episode goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, she offers hot chocolate, which I wish people would offer me hot chocolate. I don't get enough hot chocolate in my life.
Hey, Nick,
would you like some hot chocolate? I got some on the table here. Hell yeah. Send it on over. I'll take
come get it.
Give me give me 25 hours. I'll get over there. I promise. Okay. So anyways, that leads into, she makes hot chocolate for this kid who is not giving her name. And I don't know how you guys feel about the kid in this episode, but she kind of freaked me out a little bit. She was like trying too hard, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but she's like, I know who you are. I know everything about you. And
I think I think she was supposed to.
Yeah. And she did a great job as an act, like as a kid actor. Great. She did great. It was just off-putting. It was not off-putting. It was offsetting, I guess. I don't know. Nick is just anti-kid. Apparently. But the other thing. Another day. Yeah. So anyway, so she
weird ass
makes
kid.
a hot. Yeah. So she makes a hot chocolate, and that's when the opening narration happens.
Oh yeah, that's my cue. Month of November, hot chocolate, and a small cameo of a child's face, imperfect only in its solemnity. Is that what solemnity? Solemnity.
Solemnity. Oh, solemnity.
Yeah. See, I'm I'm glad I'm not alone in that. Okay. And these are the improbable ingredients to a human emotion. An emotion, say, like fear. But in a moment, this woman, Helen Foley, will realize fear. She will understand what are the properties of terror. A little girl will lead her by the hand and walk with her into a nightmare.
Dun, dun, dun. Go to commercial. So I don't know, Triv, did you have the trivia on this at all?
Yeah, so the main lady's name was Helen Foley, and that was the one of Rod Serling's favorite teachers. There was the acting debut. There's a little girl at the end that has a doll, and it was her name is Morgan Brittany. She's uncredited, although she had several lines near the end.
Oh no, I was gonna say the one thing, Helen Foley was the name of the teacher in the Twilight Zone movie, the one with the little kid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, creepy. At least the little girl got paid for having lines in I'm sure. I hope she got paid.
Ideally speaking.
There's actually a couple of, and I could be wrong. I didn't read this. I just going off memory, which is very bad at my age. But there was some other things that we'll get to with the score that I saw some parallels between this and the Twilight Zone movie from the 80s as well, and another movie, but we'll get there.
I think Jerry Goldsmith actually did the score for the movie, if I remember right.
Did he do the score for Poltergeist as well?
Yes.
Because this really reminded me later on in the episode of the Poltergeist theme. And it was reminiscent of at least part of the theme or some of the theme in the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah. It's Jerry Goldsmith did a lot of work for his time. I was actually surprised every time I hear about a movie that he did the musical score for. I'm like, really? Like he did like the 13th Warrior.
Oh wow.
The Haunting.
Oh really?
The Mummy.
Eaters of the Dead.
Yeah, Eaters of the Dead.
Such a better name than the 13th Warrior.
I know, right?
Anyway,
that's like the Batman
podcast.
So this whole kind of segment is just this kid is talking to Helen Foley's character, and she's just kind of, every time Helen Foley says something, she's like, "Oh, I know about that," or "Does this seem familiar?" or whatever's going on. It's like there's a lock on Helen Foley's brain that's keeping her from remembering all this. And I don't know if you guys think this way, but I'm assuming that were you starting to come to the idea that possibly she was maybe the same person? Was that coming to you guys at all while that was happening, while they were talking? And every time she says something, she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. You have the burn on your arm, and you have something happened when you're a kid, and this stuff coming." Is like, did the person in the street, was there anybody you recognize? Did you recognize the guy in the school, in the car coming from home? Like, were you guys starting to form any impressions that she was the same person? Because I mean, it's pretty early. It's right before the act break, but it happens. What do you guys have anything on that?
I mean, I kind of figured from like after the first couple lines the kid had, I kind of felt like this is probably her as a child, or it's a childhood toy that she had or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it took a few minutes into it. I like I said, I started to pick up on, I think that's her as a child, or her something to do with her childhood. Obviously, this kid's not normal, but can we talk about that scar that she talks about on her arm? She's like, "Do you have a scar, a burn scar on your arm?" And she lifts up her arm. And I was like, "God, that's not a scar. That's an open wound." This lady talking about, "I got a scar." Jesus, that's like a freaking open wound on her arm. I was like, that just happened or something. But whatever. That was just my takeaway from that. But yeah, I started to think that at some point, probably about midway point of the episode, I was like, yeah, I think that's her.
Right. And I mean, I guess when you have, this is a lot of this episode is about PTSD trauma and how people are able to lock this stuff away in certain circumstances. And it makes sense. That's why the episode makes sense in a lot of respects when she doesn't remember anything. Even the kids, like, you don't remember this, you don't remember that, you don't have any faint inkling, because if somebody locks something away, something could trigger it to come back, which is what the Peter Selden character ends up being about. And the girl just kind of knows everything about her, and then she's like, "What's your name?" And then people call her, as her nickname is Marky. And she drinks the coffee or the cup of hot chocolate. What's that?
I was just saying, I loved her reaction to her name when she says it, because the little girl's like, they call me Marky. And she's like, did you hear me? They call me Marky. And the lady just like goes from like, everything's cool. And she's like, yes, I heard it. And then like, she immediately goes from like, yes, I heard it. It's a very pretty name. I was like, what the fuck? This chick's got some like bipolar disorder or something, but okay.
And I mean, the kid, like, the kid's like really weird in how she talks. She has like this cadence about her, this very unusual kind of way she does things. And she's like, Helen's like, are you feeling warm? And the kid's like, no, I think I'm comfortable. I'm good. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door and she like runs like fucking the wind.
I'm like, getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That kid ran like she got a warrant out on her. She jumps up like, I gotta go. It's the popo at the door.
It reminded me of the Jerry Maguire movie when that little kid walks in and he starts talking to Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise's character, and all of a sudden he hears his mom. He's like, I gotta go. He like runs out of the room and stuff like that. So, but this is a little more serious than that. But that's when that happens. We get a knock on the door, and the person, Helen, opens the door, and it's this guy, Peter Selden. In the process of everything, he's like, do you remember who I am? I used to work for your mother. And I'm sitting here going, she just lets him in, and he kind of just hangs around for a while. And I was like really confused about it. She's like really trusting the people apparently that she doesn't know, and she just lets them into the room. And then they start having a conversation about, when she was ill for a long time, and she draws a blank of the evening and wonders if she remembers anything. And it starts getting into all this stuff about this incident that happened, I don't know, however many, she's probably in her 30s, maybe 35, 25 years prior.
It's the Twilight Zone. She's 36.
Yeah, everybody's 36.
Exactly. And so the things that I start questioning about and the things that I start wondering about is this guy comes in out of the blue. She's the person that the Marquis is talking about, the one that maybe she remembered or had some inkling of. And he just comes in and he starts like asking all these questions and things and like stuff that happens about, the nightmares, things that she's waking up from the bed, hearing about from her mother's terror and screaming and this, all this stuff that's happening. I'm going, this is such a red flag. Like, wouldn't you just want this guy to leave? Wouldn't you start calling the police? Because there's something off about this situation. And I don't know what you guys feel about it. Like I said, it's the 60s. I mean, things are different than they are now. Now we would never let this happen unless we knew the person or had invited him over for a party. But what do you guys think about this?
That was all kinds of red flags. Yeah, is even then, especially if you had like, even if it was like a little kid going, oh, you don't want to let him in, bad things are gonna, I'm here to warn you of things. I mean, I would, take that as on board, but outside perspective is everything. So
yeah,
she's just letting all these people in her house. She let this guy in her house. I think it's kind of clear what she was after. And she's like, yeah, come on in. It's free love and all that shit in the 60s. Let's have a party. Come on. You're about my age, maybe a little older. I don't really know. You never know in the Twilight Zone. It's like, whatever. It's been a while. I had a kid here earlier, but that didn't work out. Ooh. But so
nice.
Damn.
So I don't know, but yeah, that was weird that guy, he just shows up and starts saying all this weird shit. It's like, hey, yeah, I used to know you and your mom, and it's like he starts prodding. It's like, hey, do you remember? Which I guess that makes sense once we find out what we know, but he's like prodding to get information or trying to get, it's like everybody this night is trying to get all this information and trying to get her to relive this horrific moment in her life. And she's just like, okay, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, she moved past it and everything. But okay, so we have to talk about this, and this may be a discussion that is going to go places. I don't know. And Triv and I were thinking about the same thing. And the man says to her, he has quite a crush on her when she was younger. Now, I was thinking about this for a second. I'm going, how old is this guy? Was he her age when this happened? What is it? But as we learned later in the episode, he was not a young person when this happened. He looks like he's like 50 or 60 years old. So we have to ask, is there some pedophilia going on in this episode?
Like, or attempted at least.
Yeah. I'm wondering now. Yeah, because he did say that. I didn't even think of that. I remember him saying that, but it was one of those things like he said, and I was like, what? And then something else happened. I was like, oh, on to another thing. So yeah, you might be right. He's like maybe had a thing going with her mom, and then maybe he had been like messing with her, and oh man, maybe Rod Serling. It didn't say anything in all the stuff. Well, the few things that I looked at, the extremely limited search I did of this episode before getting in here because I was in a hurry. But yeah, I think you might be onto something.
I mean, I don't like talking about this stuff, but it's just like, is that? But then it talks about how later on he was. Well, we'll talk. I'm just gonna say he was following her around. So I don't know. Maybe he's like talking about when she was like 10 years ago, or it's just it's so insinuated that he was a pedophile. I mean, I don't know if this is something that passes.
He straight up said, "I had a crush on you back in the day," and you're right. Yeah, he's older than her because when it shows what he did, he was. I mean, she was like what 6, 10, something like that. I don't think
10
years old.
10-year-old. She was 10. Yeah,
did what he did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking he was probably at least 20. I had a crush on a 10-year-old. What the fuck, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oof. It's a licorice pizza situation.
But it's just this episode went very downhill quickly. No, but it's just like I was sitting there going watching. I'm like, did Ross Serling just write that in his script? Like, obviously I haven't seen this episode in a while, but it's like, good lord, like holy shit.
Well, it's one of those things you have to like look at. That's the Twilight Zone because of the nowadays it would have been in your face in a TV show. Back then they had to like kind of do things on the sly, and that's what makes talking about these episodes interesting. Like I said, I mean, I watched this episode and I didn't catch any of that, but now that you've brought it to light, I'm like, oh shit, I think there's actually something to that, and it makes sense because back then they had to like kind of like
everything had to be scripted.
It has to be like, kind of like shrouded in mystery and they, because the censors weren't going to let you talk about that kind of stuff. But clearly whoever wrote this thought it was something that at least needed to be addressed, get people to thinking about it. I'm surprised there isn't more about that in the not trivia, but talking about the episode and stuff in the 2 places I looked. Granted, I didn't do a huge search, but
yeah, I can't say I did either, but just generally, I mean, and it could have been general abuse. It may not have been like pedophilia per se.
Oh, he said he had a crush. So maybe he wasn't doing anything, but clearly it was on his mind.
Right. And maybe as an adult, he feels like he can say it as compared to before. Like he's trying to like flatter her, maybe. Like, how some people say, oh, you were the cutest little kid. I could have eaten you up, that kind of thing.
It's like, yeah, I had a crush on you when you was a kid. Not now, you're too old, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any kid? You said there was a kid around here? Where?
Yeah, it almost. I'll be honest with you. It may not have meant to be that like that, but it just questions to wonder if something Rod Serling had read. I mean, I don't know, but
it's possible.
Yeah. Was she?
I mean, it was a thing back then. Obviously, that's always been an issue.
Oh yeah.
So there's no way, because ever since you said that, and I've been brought back to that line that he said, you're right, man. There's no other way you can frame that what he said. I feel like that's something they just dropped in there to like on the sly get past the censors, and they just wanted to get people thinking about it, and a lot of people didn't catch on to it or anything. And I think we've cracked the case after 60 years, by the way. So, this is gonna be a good episode that puts yeah, that's there's no other way that comment can be framed, now that I think about it, that isn't disturbing.
Yeah. All right.
It does make me wonder why he did what he did with the mother, though. Did it have something to do with the little girl? Had he done something to the little girl? The mother found out, and that's why he took the mom out. Because they never really. Well, I guess I'll just give it away. But they never really get into why that thing happened.
Yeah, he said something that she owed him money.
Oh yeah, it was the books.
Yeah.
He asked her to cover it up or something like. Yeah, he did say that, I guess. She wouldn't shut the fuck up, so he had to silence her. Or she wasn't going to cover it up or something. Yeah.
Right. But to kind of push forward past this thing, and it's something to think about. She only remembers a vaguish nightmare thing, waking from bed, hearing her mother in terror, seeing a man but not seeing his face. So she at some point woke up and was seeing a confrontation, which ends up being outside of her room. And she just, like I said, it's a really weird kind of structure to this episode. But she offers him something, or she takes the hot cocoa that the girl was drinking away and is frazzled because nobody's been drinking the hot cocoa. Like, the girl's not real. And that's when she tells him about the little girl. She was solid and wise. She tells Peter the little girl's name was Marky. And of course, Helen's nickname was Marky. So with that said, that's the end of the act for this episode. And now that we brought this into light for you, this new information, what did you think of the episode? Both you guys can both go, but what do you guys think of the first act? How do you feel about it? Do you feel strong? Do you feel it has some interesting things? What do you guys think?
It came off to me. I mean, there are those times in life where you do get those warnings about things, and just from a general perspective, like all the crush stuff aside, I'm gonna say that the basic premise of the episode so far, at least, has been, hey, there are times when warnings drop into to warn you of stuff. Pay attention.
I was liking this episode before getting on here, and I was liking the kid, and the kid was really weird and creepy. I didn't know exactly what it was, even when I did kind of start to think she was either her or someone maybe she knew, like a ghost, or I didn't know. I was liking it. I was digging it. When the guy showed up, I mean, granted, it didn't make a lot of sense that just all these people suddenly show up and start telling her all this dredging up stuff from the past, but I was really into the episode and enjoying it. After talking to you guys, though, and seeing the hidden subtext here, I mean, I still like it, but it has definitely taken on a new look. It's different for me now, because now there's all these other things. I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is, before it was just kind of this guy who did this bad thing. Now it's this guy who possibly did a really terrible thing and was definitely thinking about a really terrible thing, and there's just all this hidden subtext in this episode I wasn't expecting. That's what I love about the Twilight Zone, and us talking about these things is you take something, you see it at face value and you're like, oh yeah, it's this, and I enjoyed it, but then there's all these others, the subtext that just can really get you to thinking, wow, this is fucked up.
Yeah. Another thing too is that you could see this as well, and I think you could see it too as our perspective looking at it from 60 years on versus what it was meant in a general context back then. I mean, things change over time.
This would definitely be an episode that I would love to pick the brain of the writer and say, what was that? What were you going? Because I honestly, sitting here thinking about it, I'd have to rewatch the episode and pay closer attention, but I cannot see another place that comment and what all it, and some of the other things the guy did, what all it meant. I really feel like they were touching on something there, and they just dropped a seed, just a little seed, and that was enough to really. I'd really be interested to hear what their thoughts on that was, because I mean, if at face value you look at the episode, it's just kind of a classic, basic run-of-the-mill Twilight Zone. This kind of weird thing happens, and that she's remembering. But man, there's some really dark shit that I think was going on in the background of this episode.
Yeah, and that's one thing about it too. Words are never chosen at random when you're talking Twilight Zone, or they don't seem to.
I mean, when people write scripts too. I mean, I was talking with somebody about that the other day. These scripts are gone over and over and over by multiple people, and even the writer themselves, when they write it, every single word, everything that's said in the script typically has some type of meaning, some way, some shape, form, fashion, especially something like, oh, I used to like that. That's, man, she changed my whole view and outlook on this episode. Now I'm just I kind of want to, I don't usually go back and rewatch episodes after I've watched them. I kind of want to go back and rewatch this one now.
Well, I mean, when we get into this, I'll say when we get into the second act, you can actually see some subtext going on with the picture. Why does he have this picture? Why has he been following around this girl for? He says and we'll get into, let's actually talk about the second act. We've been hearing there's something to be said about the little girl who keeps singing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and if you start thinking about it, it's a really kind of common thing for kids that have some kind of defense mechanism when something tragic happens. I've heard stories about kids, you know, having to deal with like their trauma so hurt that, you know, this girl repeats Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Like I was like so confused by like, why does she keep repeating it? But when you think about it, you know, maybe this was something to keep her calm and she felt safe singing that song. And, you know, the fact that this guy, Peter, is there and she just keeps singing it, it's just it gives the episode a much more scary context. If you think about it, it's a very hard episode to watch because, like I said, Peter's there, he's bringing up all this stuff, he's trying to unlock all this stuff, and then it gets to the conclusion, but he has the photograph. Helen sees the flashback with the silhouettes and, you know, the mother getting pushed down the stairs or whatever. It happens in her room. She screams. The guy runs out. I mean, think about all the stuff that's going on. This is why this episode, I don't know where to place it even in the list, because it's just so much darkness in this episode that you don't even see until you start thinking about it. Even us talking now, I'm starting to see more and more. I mean, the guy has a picture of her as a 10-year-old. I mean, that brings up much more context.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. And he's been following her since she was 10 years old and like, if you were going to do what you're going to do, why would you wait 25 years or whatever? I don't know.
I mean, when she saw him at that red light earlier in the day, was he in a fucking Ford Econovan, like white with no fucking windows? I mean, is he driving around in a rape van? I mean, this guy's suspect as fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I have to question though, and maybe I'm looking at this from the wrong way, but why would he specifically try to unlock the memories of Helen? That just seems weird to like reopen all the case for that abuse. If
that's what I was thinking too. It was like, it's a little weird in a storytelling aspect to, like, if he was going to do what he's going to do, why would he need to reopen these old wounds? Is he like trying to like get to her first and then do what he needs to do? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's where
I think he was, knowing what we know after the end, I think he was, whether he was stalking her or not, I don't know, but I took it as, okay, he saw her and he's like, oh shit, that's the lady, that's the kid. And I, you know, offed her mom in front of her, didn't have a chance to take care of her, but I heard she forgot about it. Let me go make sure. Let me make sure she doesn't remember anything. That's why he goes in and he starts like asking her questions, see, what do you really remember? And I think he was just trying to see if she remembered anything. And then when she started saying the stuff about Marky and all this and that, he was like, oh shit, it's coming back. She's starting to remember, I gotta take this bitch out.
Even when she goes out onto the stairs after this guy has just kind of left, Marky's sitting there and she brings up, do you remember now? Do you remember more and more? And, you know, just talking about like the burn is significant, I guess you could say. And maybe there was a abuse situation. I don't know. Maybe it's an accident that just helps her remember. Just the whole episode with the idea of just her coming back with memories about something traumatic is just, it's a really, I don't know. They say I was reading through the Twilight Zone companion, and a lot of people were really not happy about what the writers and staff did about this episode, because it deals with, like I said, that maybe the people back in the day were like, this is just too much. This is an episode you call, you know, the ratings board or whatever about. So I don't know.
Well, and you think about back then, I mean, look at the reaction to things now. I mean, people get up in arms over small things, and back then was no different, you know.
Think of the children.
Yeah, oh god,
you can't
I get so sick of that argument.
Speaking of Helen's the one that come up with then The Simpsons. But this leads to the kind of conclusion to this episode, because it moves pretty quickly for what it's worth. But Peter just kind of happens to pop up again, and he pretty much admits to everything. He killed her mother, and you know, now she has to be the Inigo Montoya, and you know, the whole situation there. And it just like he said, he's like, he came back to unfinished business because to basically kill her. And I'm going, once again, you're here to kill her. You had all this time to kill her. I'm not saying you should kill people. I'm just saying he has all this time to kill her. But why would somebody come back to bring up old memories? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm like frustrated with this episode.
I'm assuming that he lost touch with because didn't he mention something like he didn't have a chance to get to her because like the police showed up or somebody else showed up or something like that. So he had to like run. Yeah, I remember vaguely he said something about like, I didn't get a chance to finish the job or whatever because, you know, after I did that and saw you, the neighbors showed up and all that. So
because the kid was screaming. That's what it was.
She was too covered up with people, so he just had to go. And And then like after a while, he was like, okay, she doesn't remember. And then I guess he saw her and he was like, let me check on this and make sure she still doesn't remember, because you know, statute of limitations on murder, not a thing. And and that's when he decided, I guess these memories are coming back for whatever reason. So I got to take her out. Can we talk about, though, also when she ran out into the hallway and he's chasing her and all that, and she goes to knock on the doors? That door across the hallway that she went and knocked on, that was probably the flimsiest fucking door in the world. That thing like bowed in. I was like, you could have just ran a little bit harder and been in that motherfucker. I mean, you didn't try very hard to get in there. But
can we also talk about the way the guy dies too? He just like the way he falls.
We're
down
going to talk
steps.
about that.
Yeah, I mean,
damn, did Nan Adams hit his ass down the stairs from the top? Because like I was actually watching it on this screen over here, and I glanced over here at this one for just a second, and I looked up right as he crested. He just took off over the fucking stairs. I was like, damn, what hit him? It's like, Nan Adams, is that you? Just like sideswipe him.
Props to the guy who was his stunt double. I mean, he
no
took
doubt.
a fall in that. And those steps were not
that wasn't a stunt. Hell, he just, that's how they did it back in the day, hardcore. They just threw his ass down the steps. Said, is your insurance policy up? Good thing.
But yeah, I mean, after everything's said and done, they're doing the you know, taking photos of the dead guy. Once again, they haven't covered him up, but I mean, it was the 60s.
And they never covered anybody up. Overrated.
Apparently. I know, right? And actually, that fall kind of reminded me a little bit of the Psycho's fall when he fell down the stairs a little bit. But so the two detectives, what's that? Oh yeah, the two detectives are talking, and they're like, you know, I gave her a sedative to keep her down, and you know, the guy asks, you know, she keeps talking about this child, and the detective seems to be real knowledgeable about unfinished business, and you know, this girl was a manifestation of, you know, her youth and trying to help her and protect her. And you know, it's a Twilight Zone, so it makes, you know, sense that this girl was probably a real thing that came to life in her imagination, you know, as a whatever it is. But she goes into the room and she hears
I thought all that was odd too, and I feel like that was the writer talking to the audience, whether that was something the writer felt like they had to do, or like somebody said, this is kind of heady, maybe you need to give a bit of an explanation. Let's have this cop with a PhD who can explain exactly what was going on with her, you know, psyche at the time. Because I felt like I got that. I mean, by the time it was all over, I was like, yeah, I get what happened. But, you know, it was the 60s. They're like, oh, people aren't going to get it. You need to explain it. I feel like that was just the writers handhold the audience and not having faith in their audience being able to figure out what they had written. So they had to have someone to come in and, you know, exposition dump exactly what had happened. So just in case you didn't get it, for you dumbasses out there, this is what happened.
Well, considering back in the day, I mean, not that the 60s is, you know, like the 1870s or whatever, but there's probably a lot of people that, you know, didn't think about that aspect of things. You know, if you think their main demo was middle class America, you probably didn't see a lot of this kind of stuff, or you didn't talk about it at least.
Yeah, it's kind of like last week.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about last week, a lot of the people that watched these shows on TV back then in the 60s, they didn't have all the media we have nowadays. So what they saw on TV, they took at face value. If they saw a little girl talking to someone, then unless they saw this little girl materialize or dematerialize into the ether, they probably thought, oh, that was a real person. Wait, what was going on? I don't know. I say that, and I mean, yeah, but I feel like maybe I'm naive here. I feel like people as a whole would be able to figure that out. But once again, we're looking at this thing through the lenses of people in 2022, not 1960. So
yeah,
maybe.
Or they might have ideas, but not, you know, they might be like, oh, well, like, you know, it might be this, but there's that confirmation or whatever.
Yeah. Either way, it was definitely the writers trying to say, hey, this is what happened.
Yep,
you didn't catch on.
In case you missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, she's in her room or whatever. She finally feels at ease. And then all of a sudden, the little twinkle, twinkle, little star pops up again. And she walks out into the hallway, and it's some random girl with the Annabelle doll. And he's like, I have it. He says, you both have a lovely smile. And Helen smiles as she walks back into her apartment. There's a lot of lovely smiles. And that's less creepy than, you know, because there's a woman talking to a little child that she probably will know for the rest of her life, and the Annabelle doll and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what the episode ends.
She didn't invite her into her apartment.
Yeah.
Shit.
What are you going? What revelation are you going to give me now?
She's never going to invite anyone in ever again.
It's like Poltergeist. They just throw out the TV. It's like fuck the TV, fuck the child, that type of thing. So so that's the end of the episode. A very dark, depressing, but it's an episode of the Twilight Zone that went places. But was there, before we get into the opening or closing narration, was there any other things that subtext wise or hinting at things? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about with the episode? Good, bad, anything you guys want to talk about?
I think I'm pretty good. I mean, that was the main thing of the episode that I saw.
I don't know, man. I did like this episode. I thought the end just kind of happened really fast, and when you start picking it apart, it's like, okay, why would this happen? There were a lot of conveniences as to why it happened. I mean, we could say, all these people all of a sudden show up trying to dredge up old memories, but really only one person did. And we could always attribute it to the reason the little girl showed up is because she saw that man at the light earlier in the day. And that is what made her mind start going. That's why the little girl showed up, that manifestation showed up. So it's really only that the guy showed up. So that kind of makes, I don't know, if you go that way about it, that makes sense as to why the little girl showed up then. And then he showed up later on because he saw her, blah, 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 blah. But I can say that I was liking the episode, and I did enjoy the episode. I thought the end just kind of happened, like I said, but I liked where the episode, what it had to say. But after getting on here and talking to you guys, I think that's what I really like. Those are the type of Twilight Zone episodes I like. I mean, this isn't necessarily a subject I like, but I love when I see an episode and I'm like, oh yeah, it was this. And then we get to talking about it and we explore it more. And I'm like, oh shit, there's like this whole other side to this thing that I wasn't even thinking about. Kind of like I think it was What You Need. It had a lot of that going on in it. Mm-hmm. Things that you don't even think about or see. And then after you start dissecting it, you see like a lot more going on in the background. And some episodes like What You Need is kind of us just, projecting and saying, oh, maybe this, maybe that. But this one, no, there was some shit in there. There was some subtext that I just didn't pick up on. And I imagine people back in the 60s definitely didn't pick up on it. A lot of other people don't. And it just leads to some really, really dark places.
We'll say the way that they portrayed like the violence between the doctor and Helen's mom was well done. Like the kind of shadow use that they did.
The whole stark background. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that worked really
well. And the
well.
score, I thought the score was really good. The score was different than what we've gotten in previous Twilight Zone episodes. I thought it was very distinct. And like I said, it had a lot of poltergeist tones and even a little bit of the movie. I mentioned that. I'm not as familiar with the Twilight Zone movie score as Poltergeist, but I really enjoyed the score here. I thought it had a lot more personality, and it was it really contributed to the uneasiness of the episode. It was a very uneasy score, and I thought Goldsmith did a really good job with that.
Very much.
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the episode. I think the content, if it were me personally, I wouldn't be as high on it because it's a very uncomfortable thing to think about. But for storytelling, I think it tries to at least attempt to be somewhat compelling and unique and trying to be somewhat hard hitting. In a lot, even see today, a lot of TV shows won't broach this subject because it's very difficult to talk about, and they were able to do it in a pretty well. I mean, to be fairly honest, it's just one of those episodes that you may not like the subject matter, you may not like what it's trying to deal with, but it actually does a pretty decent job of telling a compelling story in the end, is how I look at it. But we're ranking on the Twilight Zone list, I don't know, but I guess that's where I
do think the first half with the little girl, all the stuff with the little girl Marky, I think was the most interesting stuff. That was the best part of the episode. When the episode after that took off with the guy and all that, there were interesting things going on there, and the payoff was what it was. None of it was bad, but I think the most interesting part that really had me like not looking away from the screen at all was the stuff with the little girl. And there's like, what is going on with this little girl? And I thought she did really good. She was creepy as hell, and she made it work. I mean, that little girl did a really good job. I don't know what else she's been in, but I thought she did that. That was my favorite part of the episode. Everything after that was good and it was fine, but that part where she was in there the whole time, I'm just trying to figure out, what is this kid doing? What is she here for? What's going on here? I thought that was really well done.
Agreed. Yeah, the kid was, I mean, adult actors, there's that expectation of, okay, there's a certain level you hope that they're at. But yeah, kid actors are always a crapshoot, and they did very well with her.
Yeah. So with that said, Jacob, hit us up with the closing narration.
Miss Helen Foley, who has lived in night and who will wake up to morning. Miss Helen Foley, who took a dark spot from the tapestry of her life and rubbed it clean, then stepped back a few paces and got a good look at the Twilight Zone.
She is now happy ever after, I think.
I don't know about that. That bitch is going to need all kinds of therapy.
Agreed.
She is. Let's do a how it should have ended, or what after the credits or whatever. She's fucked. She is like years and years of therapy she's going to need here. That's some. And in all honesty, I joke, but I've known someone who did have repressed memories. They weren't necessarily. Well, I mean, they're still working through that stuff. They weren't necessarily to this level of like someone being murdered and child, like possibly pedophile stuff, but definitely some like childhood trauma. And people can, like, their whole future or their whole past can be altered through manipulation and just your brain does things to let you survive, because there's some shit that your brain, I think, just decides, no, you're not ready for this.
Oh, yeah.
Just lock it away, or not even lock it away, but change it, tweak it to a way that even if it is a little bit messed up, it's this way, you can handle this right now. And then you just live with that. And it's kind of crazy, man, to see like people that do go through this kind of thing, not this specifically, but like childhood trauma. And then like years later when they're an adult and they like the realization they have when, holy shit, like this huge part of my life, like all this from my life that I've always lived with, that I've always thought, and it's informed the way that I look at certain people and things, and now it's all different. It's kind of crazy what your brain can do, and I think that was a big part of this episode as well. Trauma and all that. I think that's interesting, and I mean, granted, I have a personal investment in that, and I see, I've never been through it myself that I know of, at least, but seeing somebody go through that and seeing how this episode portrayed that, I thought that's really neat, especially for the 60s. I mean, you didn't hear about shit like that back then.
No, you absolutely didn't. I think the same. It takes a certain level of bravery to do episodes like this. Even then, I mean, you think Star Trek and some of the ways that they did some of that stuff, and it got a little goofy, but they did this in such a, whatever you think of kind of the subject matter, they did it in a very classy and way that doesn't shove it down your throat, but still informs you in a way.
Definitely didn't shove it down your throat, because I didn't pick up on a lot of that shit.
That's okay.
We talked about it. This is going to be interesting rating this one.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that too. Like, I don't even know where to start with this one.
We might just be like, right there. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's interesting. I think this could be an episode that people could watch and really maybe feels like that something could be, it could link into, people are not alone in this type of situation. And even though this doesn't in a Twilight Zone aspect, it's just, when you have something traumatic that you go through like that, there will always be people that will be there on your side for whatever reason, or hopefully will be on your side. So
I think different people are definitely going to take different things from this episode, more so than, I mean, that's with everything, but more so than, like, if you watch Elegy, okay, we all take the same thing from that pretty much, but something like this, I think different people are going to take different things from it.
Yeah, agreed.
With that said, let's go ahead and head into we did the closing narration, right? I'm hoping.
Yep. Yeah, we did.
I didn't forget.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm losing my mind.
Claire's closing narration, I thought.
Yeah, it was very well done. Would expect nothing less.
Okay, so let's head into the Twilight Zone list, the list that nobody will ever be able to do better than us, because we're the greatest ever.
Well, I think Jake would have disagreed with on For Chance to Dream, but otherwise, yeah.
I like I said, greatest list ever that nobody will be able to change. I stand, but no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so with that said, where do we put this episode? Like, is this? I don't know. Where do we put this episode?
I really don't know.
Is this an episode that is worthy of a top 10?
For Chance to Dream dealt with mental illness and
there's cat ladies in that one. Thank you very much. No, but would you put this as a top 10 episode actually, or would you put it?
Just not. I mean, I'm see the list, but it's just wall of text at this moment. But not even looking at the specific episodes and thinking of them, and not thinking about just straight up like entertainment value and. Like I do sometimes where I'm like, which one would I want to watch right now? But really, especially after talking with you guys and really digging deep into everything this episode has to say, that question of would it be top 10? I think the questions that this one raises and the very difficult conversation, even now, 60 years later, that it wants to talk about. Yeah, I think that's a worthy thing to go top 10. Is that a reason to put something top 10? I don't know.
Is it successful enough to have a top to be in? Because you have to be success. You literally have to be good plus compelling plus have a hard hitting topic, and that's where it kind of debates on top 10. I know you put some you like sci-fi series or episodes, but you have to start kind of figuring.
I do, but
yeah.
I like the subtext to this one. Obviously, I mean, I like the
execution.
That it's trying to say something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that it's
trying
to
that's
say
number 13,
Trev.
Important. So funny.
I like that it's trying to say something important. I like the first half of the episode. I really liked the second half. I didn't dislike, but I felt like the first half was better than the second half. The second half was more just okay, stuff's happening. It wasn't as compelling as the first half, in my opinion. The part with the little girl, once she left, it was like, okay, I'm still having a good time, but that was some really good shit. So execution overall of the episode, just as viewing experience, I thought was fine. I thought it was good. It had a really compelling beginning, and the ending was just kind of, yeah, that happened. And there's some weird stuff that happens at the end, but man, I can't get that subtext out of my mind now. And all the little, I love how unless we're just totally missing the mark here. But from what we've talked about, I really love how it's got some really deep subtext that never even goes into, it doesn't do that thing like we talked about with the guy, with the police officer in there, where it has to explain it to us. It just puts things in there and says, hey, what do you think? So I love the episodes that get us to talking, get us to thinking about things that aren't put right there on display. So that, I mean, that doesn't really contribute to where we put it, but this is an episode that gets me to thinking and gets us to talking. So I definitely think it's on the upper half of the list, whether it's top 10 or not. I don't know. Where do you guys stand on it?
Well, I will say that I tried to look up, just Google crush, like from the, like what if that was like 50 slang the way balls was last week, and you know how it means something other than what we kind of thought it was. I can't find anything that specifically meant like crush as in like, you know, like, oh, you have a fondness for another person. That's not like a crush the way we know it now. So I mean, I think the context it stands is in at least some way, shape, or form the context that we know today. I'm kind of, yeah, exactly. Where that
and
goes.
The show really went away from that quickly. It's like they dropped it and they knew, okay, we got to get away. We dropped it. We did what you wanted. Now we got to get away from it real quick, because they leave that really quickly, and then they drop some little tidbits here or there. But man, that one line right there makes a lot of other stuff in the episode just land differently.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you though, as far as everything that you mentioned. I mean, I think that it's an episode that makes you think. It does. I kind of want to go back and look more into like stuff, the way that other media handled it in that era, just to learn more about it. I don't know. I mean, I think it's top 15, if not, well, probably closer to top 12 than. I don't know. I really am truly not sure where to put it.
I know you guys are gonna come to me next. I'm going to say this, and this is going to be controversial. I think this episode is better than One for the Angels. I think the level it's willing to go and the level that it actually succeeds at, really, like, I wouldn't have said this when we first started, but this episode is probably going to sit with me for quite a long time, just on its material. And we don't have to go that high. I'm just saying, if it were me personally, this is an episode that completely just kind of caught me off guard, and we have to like work these things out sometimes to kind of figure out where to put these things. But I like it. People are like all over. I like The Hitchhiker. I like A World of Difference, and then we get nice place to visit. I would put that a little lower, but anyways, Time Enough at Last has that ending. I think it's very hard to get past that ending. Purple Testament is very potent with what it's trying to do. Walking Distance has that nostalgia. Monsters Do on Maple Street. I think this is an episode that even today, if you were to show somebody and they watched it, well, most people, I'm not saying everybody, but if you showed most people and they watched the context, I think it hits really hard. I really do. But like I said, where you guys feel about it and where I feel about it is different. So I can go anywhere, but that's where I think. So I don't know.
I mean, you think about like the Purple Testament and kind of like the message of that and what it hit on. I mean, I'm good putting it at 4 or 5. I mean, if we're gonna go high, we might as well go high and put it on the level of Wrecking Ball that it kind of is.
I mean, I don't know, Jay. I know, Jacob, you said you have problems with the second act, but I don't know. You tell me.
No, I don't have problems with it. I just think I just really liked it. That little girl, I thought, did a phenomenal job at what she was supposed to be there to do. And the second act is fine. I mean, I was cool with it. I enjoyed the second act as well. I just thought that first act was really good. That little girl was really damn good. And since she wasn't in the second act much, I thought, that's why it just kind of, it was kind of like,
she does
we haven't
help.
gotten to those highs yet. But what the second act does that the first act didn't is that's when it opens up all the really heady stuff that we've been, the subtext and everything. That's where the subtext comes in with the second act. And I think that's what it does. So the second act is kind of like, if you just take it at face value, it's just, some events that happen and they're fine. They're cool. But when you start to think about it, that's when the really hard hitting stuff comes into play, is during that part of it. So, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable. Maybe that's why it is a little bit more unlikable, because you're dealing with a subject I really cannot see a way around that. That's not what it was. And I'm with you. I mean, I definitely think it was better than Perchance to Dream. People are like all over. Man, I keep blanking on these things. That was the
Roddy McDowell.
We just watched that one. Which one?
Yeah,
that's one where he ends up in
go to
cell.
Mars.
Zoo,
or whatever, or wherever it was. Yeah, I think it's better than that one. I enjoy that one, but I think that its message, that's the crazy thing. This one doesn't even have a message so much. It's just bringing awareness to something. It doesn't have some message. It's just saying, hey, this is a thing, and you need to think about it. You need to talk about it. And it's sad that we can't openly talk about it. I'd be cool. I mean, Purple Testament, that's a tough one, because not only did it have something really
I don't think it's as good as that one.
No, and that's what I was going with it. It had something poignant to say as well, but it was also just so well acted. That was so good. Time Enough at Last. Oh, that's the one with the guy with the glasses. Yeah. Which I think that was a good episode, but I don't feel as quite like I'm not as high on that one as you guys quite are. But I mean, I'm cool with it. Has a banger of an ending. One for the Angels. Both of which deal with children. But I think this one has a bit more to say than that one. Yeah. I'd be cool with this one. It's crazy because as we've talked about this one, I went into it thinking, oh yeah, this is a good episode. Probably like I think Triv said it initially, like a 10 or a 12, somewhere in there. But as we talk about it, I just think this episode is even more important and better the more we talk about it. We'll keep talking to be number one.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you this, Triv. Do you think it should go above Time Enough at Last? Do you think it should go below it? Where do you stand?
I'm good with 4 or 5, honestly. I'm not going to be that person that goes, hey, this needs to go down by the Fever, but
you're supposed to slap people.
I demand it go down there now.
I will call Will Smith on your ass. You do that.
Oh yeah, scared. Shaken.
I think I would put it number 5. I think I would watch Time Enough at Last more. One for the Angels is good. It has Death and Salesman. Was that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Pitch for the Ages.
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah,
the Pitch for the Ages.
Let me ask you this: which one do you feel is better, an instance, one for the angels or this episode? Like which one hit you hard, the harder, the best, I guess?
You're talking to, I like One for the Angels is like one of my all-time faves. So you're asking me like to pick between my children. For a general,
that's a tough one too.
Yeah. For watchability. And this is from someone that I watch a lot of stuff just because it, like it makes me feel good, all that kind of stuff. Like I watch a lot of stuff that has meaning and is poignant, but I'm also one that's a sucker for like just a sappy story. One for the Angels wins out over this, but in this case, given the kind of story that it is, I think it has to go above One for the Angels.
Sound good to you,
Jacob? Honestly,
I think.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Trev. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, honestly, given the messages of Time Enough at Last, outside of the banger ending, and we've had this conversation, the thing that makes Time Enough at Last really good is the ending. I think this one is a solid episode more across the board than what Time Enough at Last is. But I don't know if that, in theory, is strong enough to beat out that ending.
Well, I don't think that the ending is, but it's not all about the ending. I think that this is one of those weird episodes. I've already said this, that, I had an initial thought of, but then once I noticed everything that's going on in the background of this one, that's when this one doesn't have the banger ending. This one just has a banger message, for lack of a better term. And I think that, in my opinion, it does trump that ending with that. As far as like Time Enough at One for the Angels, I think that One for the Angels hit, because you asked, which one hits you harder. I think One for the Angels, just on like just viewing experience, viewing what, on the surface, there's no subtext there. One for the Angels is just like, this is what's going on. What we're presenting you is what's happening. So it's easier to it's more digestible. And as you're watching it, of course, you got this kid, this man, this poor old man does everything he can to save her and all that, and he's successful. It's heartwarming and it hits you in the feels and all that. This one is one that I don't feel like fully hits you until a little while later, and you start noticing more and more things like I have, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was dark. But that's just because it's dark and tough. And I kind of, as I think about it, I'm like, that's probably why I had this uneasy feeling the entire time while watching this episode, because it was like a subconscious thing. Like maybe I picked up on some of these cues subconsciously, and that's why it was uneasy for me subconsciously until we brought it to light here, and I realized what it was. I think it's a more important makes me sound really pretentious.
It doesn't.
I think it's just it's something that needs to be talked about and brought to light more often.
Right.
And I think that they did it really well here. The more and more I think about it, the more we talk about it, I think they did it really well. And as much as I talk about, in that last part, they were doing hand holding and because they thought the audience was stupid, they clearly didn't think the audience was too stupid, because I think they were trying to slide it in there without people understanding or knowing it. I mean, they didn't, the big hard hitting part of the episode, they didn't explain it all. And I love that. I love when movies or shows or stories don't hold your hand. They put something in there for you to say, for you to figure out, you, the audience member. And I think this one did that. So yeah, I'm going to say it's better than Time Enough at Last and One for the Angels. But if it goes in 4 or 5, I'll be happy.
Shit.
I said a lot of words and just didn't stick to anything.
No, it's the difficulty is trying to, when we get to like episode 100, it's gonna be so difficult to place this shit. But
I'm saying above Time Enough at Last.
I am too. I mean, as much as I don't want to say that, I think you guys are both right. I think
I'm making the executive decision.
Well, I just want to make sure you're right with that executive decision.
Yes.
So
my coffee cup my cup of hot chocolate stand.
All right. So
I have no executive powers here. So
I think okay. Triv put down the gavel. No, okay.
Damn straight I have.
I was going to go above Time Enough at Last myself, but yeah. Anyways, yeah.
New number 4.
New number 4 is Nightmare as a Child. It has been said. It has been written. Let it be said. Let it be done. Number 1 Monsters Do on Maple Street, number 29 is The Fever. I think there's a respectable place to put that episode. So, So with that said, this is going to be an interesting episode to talk about next week because I love this episode, but I don't know where we are going to land on it. But Triv knows this episode, I'm sure. I know Jacob has seen this episode, I'm 100% sure, but it's called A Stop at Willoughby. It's
great episode.
Yeah, season 1, episode 30.
What's it called?
Stop at Willoughby.
You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah, you'll know this episode from the ending. So, but it's directed by Robert Parrish, written by Rod Serling, and stars James Daly and Howard Smith. And like I said, it's considered like a classics Twilight Zone episode. So, anyways,
is that one on the train?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see.
You'll
I'm on
know
a boat.
I said that not because I remembered, but because I just looked at the thumbnail and it's people sitting on a train.
It's good reason to believe it happened on a train.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless that's what they want you to think.
Dun dun dun.
We got 7 episodes left until the end of this monster of a season.
That's insane.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to the 4th season yet. Actually, how many episodes is it?
Doesn't season 1 have the longest, the most episodes out of all of them? Or the season? Is there a season somewhere?
Season 2 has 29. Season 3 has 37. Holy shit.
Oh, season 3. Look at you.
Season 4 is 18, and season 5 has 36. So we're in for the long haul. So.
Get on the train.
So these seasons back then were just long.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll do it. That'll be our take on season 1, episode 29, which is called A Nightmare as a Child. Triv, if you want to go slapping, people want to go slapping or trying to slap you, or if you want to slap them, where can they find your channel to slap people? Love slap style.
You can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I try to do normal content. I've been a little slow on it lately, but keep on keeping a look. You can also find me on Twitter at trivia_chick.
Awesome. And Jacob, now that you can kind of talk to people in some form or fashion when your internet does work, if they want to reach out and find your somewhat reasonable internet, where can they find you?
Reach out and touch me. You can reach out and touch me at YouTube. That's where I spend most of my time, at Jacob Enders Reviews. Also have a gaming channel, Jacob Enders Gaming. I know my naming conventions are extremely original. I'm also on Twitter at RedNeville2, where I post stuff about my YouTube channel. And every now and then stuff about Star Wars ice blocks here or there. And that's an old one. Did it like 3 years ago. But that's where I spend most of my time. And hopefully, you guys have, those of you that tune in weekly or tune into my channel are probably sick and fucking tired of hearing about this guy bitch and moan about his internet and his first world problems. But that problem will be rectified within the next week and a half. So hopefully I will be even more active again, because it will not take me 5 minutes to load a fucking website.
Always a nice thing.
Exactly. And as always, you can find our and as always, you can find our channel on my YouTube channel, which is Movie Emporium, where I post all my videos and TV reviews and stuff. We are an Apple Podcast, Google Play. I think we're on Amazon. So rate, subscribe, star. If you like listening to us, do ASMR, whatever.
ASMR.
That type of thing. Yeah. You can find us on audio feeds. But with that said, for myself, Jacob, and Triv, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out.
Peace, love, chicken grease. I'm out this piece.
Podcast over. I quit. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
All
right. We'll see you guys. Bye.
That is
a good show. All right. Let's get started because it's getting late.
I could leave the meeting and you guys, Oh, shush.
I would say you could skip Boba Fett because it was kind of, it's all right.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium. I did it again.
You did.
You did it again.
Son of a bitch.
Welcome to Halo.
You want me to
I get too busy talking. No, I'm good. What's
Welcome
going
to
on,
Master Chief.
Welcome to Jacob Enders Reviews.
Welcome to Slap.
I don't ever say that, but